Ted Johnson placed the old .30 caliber rifle, possibly made in Germany, against a tree on a hill overlooking the mansion's pool. Ted was wearing rubber gloves up to his elbows and had a small monocular device to watch the pool, even though he was only 100 yards from several lounge chairs around the pool. The pool belonged to Marcus Reynolds, a millionaire entrepreneur whose mansion was nearby. Marcus was the employer of Ted's wife, Emma. She was a beauty with dark brown hair and a striking figure. Emma had been spending weekends at Marcus' mansion for the past 6 weeks, and she made no secret of her intention to have an intimate relationship with her boss, while his wife Linda did charity work. Ted wasn't sure if Linda knew about Emma's visits, but with the mansion staff around, it was likely she did. Marcus and Emma walked towards the pool. Marcus was wearing swim trunks, and Emma was only wearing a thong and a tight tank top. This was not the first time Ted had seen these two scantily clad over the past weeks. He had carefully examined the grounds of the mansion, and now he felt that it was time to decide the issue of life and death for the two lovers. Marcus was as handsome as a fashion model with a slender, muscular physique. He and Emma made a striking couple, especially as they were now. Ted could somewhat understand why Emma was hooked on Marcus, but understanding does not mean accepting. From the very beginning, when she announced her intentions, he was categorically against it. He and Emma were 35 years old. They had been married for 14 years and had twin daughters, Claire and Beth. The children were 13 and looked like their mother. They were currently at Ted's parents' house, where they had spent the week before going to a summer camp. They had inherited their father's athletic abilities. At the moment, Ted was supposedly riding a bike with his best friend, Mike Jacobs. The two had been close friends since first grade. They were now partners in a business that sold financial advice to companies and some individuals. T&M Consultants was founded as soon as Ted graduated from college. Mike didn't go to college, his parents couldn't afford it, and Mike wanted to make it in the world. He was an outgoing guy and was a successful salesman. As part of their firm, he sold their services. The services were excellent, and the company grew. Now, both men were quite wealthy, married men with children of about the same age who went to the same school. Mike was married to Lisa, his childhood love. Well, Lisa was the childhood sweetheart of both Mike and Ted. Mike won this competition, and Ted never really understood why. Mike and Ted were very similar in appearance. Both were dark, 6 feet tall, and of medium build. But some people just fall in love, and this happened to Mike and Lisa. Ted was used to it. He found Emma in college, and she was all he ever needed. Just a few months ago, Mike waited on the bike path some distance away, and Emma was about to get a big surprise. Ted saw Emma and Marcus hugging each other. The hug turned into a kiss. As soon as they broke the kiss and Emma walked a short distance away, Marcus' chest exploded. Marcus' body pulled away from Emma. She screamed, covering her face with her hands, and fell to the ground. There was blood everywhere. She crawled to the pool and dived into it. Ted had seen enough. He climbed down from the tree and quickly ran up the hill, throwing the old rifle into the bushes along the way. He took off the stock cover and gloves, stuffed them into a plastic bag on his belt, and jogged up the hill to his bike. He jumped into the saddle, headed for the main bike path, and rode out onto it. After looking around to see that there was no one nearby, Ted rode his bike about 5 miles to join Mike. They continued on their way about 8 miles away. Ted left a plastic bag in a dumpster behind a gas station. They then finished their ride and arrived at Mike's house. The rifle didn't bother Ted. He assumed the police would find it. They wouldn't be able to get DNA, and he was sure that nothing could be traced. He had the rifle for many years. He got it from a guy he knew who was dying and didn't want to leave the weapon to his family. There were 2 rifles and 2 pistols. The other rifle was also from World War I, but larger and more valuable. Besides the rifle he had used today, the rest of the weapons were in Ted's gun safe, along with the weapons he had inherited from his grandfather. This rifle was never in the safe. Ted kept it separately in a hidden place in a closet in the garage. When Emma announced her intentions to have an affair with Marcus, Ted immediately thought of this rifle. Over the next week, he took it out to his country property, to make sure it was shooting accurately. It needed a little work, so he filed the serial number on the inside and was confident that the rifle was good enough for its purpose. Lisa was there to greet them when they arrived at Mike's house. She expected them to return at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they arrived just then. She prepared cold beer for everyone and asked, "How was the trip, guys?" Mike smiled at his wife. "It was great. The track wasn't very crowded, and we had a good workout for about 4 hours or so." Lisa hugged them both. She was a pleasant-looking woman their age with dark hair and slightly overweight. Ted always found her attractive. They usually flirted a little, but she was Mike's woman, and all three of them knew it. The men drank beer and showered at the pool house before sitting around the pool. Lisa asked Ted, "How long do you think this thing with Emma will last?" She knew about what Emma did on the weekends. Ted told them both because they were his closest friends and the people he turned to when he was in trouble or needed advice. In Lisa's opinion, Ted should have kicked Emma out immediately, but Mike thought differently. He suggested they wait until they could protect the company and the twins were older. But Ted already knew what he was going to do. He had no pity for guys who slept with other people's wives, especially his own. So having developed a plan, Ted talked to Mike about it. Together, they clarified the details. Ted answered Lisa's question, "I have no idea, but Lisa, I hope to continue my relationship with Nora." Lisa repeated, "I still think it's time for you to leave Emma." Lisa and Emma had always been cool towards each other. These four did communicate, and so did their children. Mike's eldest son, George, was a year older than the twins, and his youngest son, Ben, was a year younger. Both boys seemed to find the girls attractive, but the mothers were far from close. Emma had her own circle of friends from the country club, while Lisa had her own friends from the Democratic Party and several book clubs. However, their social gatherings generally went well. Emma was always nice and interested in Lisa's hobbies. The strange thing was that both women worked in the same job for most of their married lives as administrative assistants. That ended when Emma was hired at Marcus 2 years ago. Lisa was still working at her old company. As the three of them sat there, Ted was lost in thought about recent events. He wondered about his reaction and why Emma had betrayed him so much. She had been working for Marcus for 20 months and Ted had no idea there was a problem. Their nightlife, always good, did not change. Emma did not work late and did not go on business trips. She went to the club most weekends but regularly attended the girls' home soccer games. Ted always attended all the twins' games, so Ted was shocked when Emma sat down next to him late one night and said, "Ted, I don't want to, but I'm going to do something. I hope this doesn't ruin things too much. I love you." Ted instantly became wary. He was not one to react emotionally to what was happening. To most people, he seemed stoic. His parents were the complete opposite. They argued and fought like street dogs, then had wild reconciliations. Ted was an only child, and his reaction, honed over the years, was no reaction at all. That was his initial stoic reaction to Emma. He didn't say a word and stared at her. This didn't unsettle her. This had happened before. She continued, "Marcus and I have developed, well, a crush on each other. His wife goes away every weekend from Friday to Sunday evening. I'm going to visit him at the mansion when she leaves, starting this Friday. I have no idea when this will stop. He'll probably get tired of me, but I need it, Ted." Ted didn't say anything. In fact, he was quite calm internally. This was because he knew as soon as she laid out this plan that he couldn't stop her, nor would he try to. He also knew that Marcus was as good as dead, as was their marriage. What he hadn't fully decided yet was what to do with Emma. He always loved her. She was a pretty good mother, but he knew well that she indulged her desires and cared about her status. He saw it, but didn't pay enough attention to it. Now, these negative qualities had reached their apex. This was unexpected and not even in her character. He was considering a decision regarding Emma and almost immediately remembered the rifle in the garage closet. Emma was startled when Ted smiled after about a minute. He had this reaction when he thought about the rifle. Emma was not only amazed, but also unsettled by his smile. It wasn't a fake smile. She didn't expect this. She said with some heat, "Do you think there's something funny here?" He smiled at her. Not at all. But that smile. She felt a shiver from that smile. Ted stood up and asked, "Have you already had a night?" Emma paused. "No, well, a few kisses, that's all for now. I will sleep in the guest house. Let me know when you're done with the rich boy. Then we'll see what's left." As he spoke, Ted walked up the stairs to pack his things for the night. Emma was sitting in the living room. She was unhappy with this turn of events. However, it was something she wanted to do, and she intended to do it. However, she felt lonely, left alone in bed. It was Thursday, only one more night. She was so looking forward to her weekend with Marcus. She longed for him. He was younger. He was 32. He was rich and educated, and he was well built. She realized this after seeing him working out in the office gym without a shirt. Her idea was to get enough of him while his wife was away for the weekend. She understood that this situation would continue for another couple of months. Then, depending on how they got along, perhaps they would make some kind of permanent agreement. Maybe so, maybe not. She loved Ted. She loved the way he held her. She loved the way he treated their daughters. She liked that he gave her a good life. But for a while, she was restless and very attracted to her boss. She wanted it, and she was going to get it. She was sure that she and Ted would work it out somehow. Ted had a lot to think about as he had barely slept Thursday night. The twins were going to stay with friends for the whole weekend. He would do some reconnaissance and check the weapons. Maybe he could take a little break on Friday. He went to his usual CAF GC for lunch. A nice young woman, Nora Mitchell, dined there sometimes. Sometimes he and Nora had lunch together. Nora was about 26 or so, with a nice athletic figure and dark hair. Something about Nora reminded Ted of Lisa. Something about her appearance and behavior. Ted and Nora had been flirting a little for a few weeks. However, until Emma announced her intention to cheat, Ted had absolutely no intention of pursuing Nora. So what about now? Nora was there that Friday. She was just sitting down when he entered. He ordered a ham sandwich and sat down next to her in the booth. It was somehow different. He usually sat opposite her. Nora was not a fool and was used to guys hitting on her. She couldn't help but notice it. She felt pleased that Ted sat next to her. She had been saving a place for him for 2 weeks, but until now, he either did not understand or did not want to take the hint. She knew Ted was married, and yet he was a temptation. Nora turned to him and gave him a killer smile. "Something has changed, huh?" He smiled back at her. "Yeah, my wife decided to fool around with her boss." Nora put her hand on his thigh. "And I was wondering if you'd like to have dinner and a dance on Friday night." "Oh, Ted, I would really like that very much." Soft voice, gentle. A stupid grin appeared on his face. He felt stupid when he realized this. She patted him on the cheek. He was hard as a rock, and he did everything he could to control himself. She stroked his cheek, and he kissed her lightly on the lips. "I better not stay here. We could be arrested." They exchanged phone numbers. Returning to work, Ted felt like a schoolboy. Some of the employees noticed this. Emma noticed too when Ted walked briskly home after work. Again, her husband, with whom she had lived all these years, surprised her. She said, "I made lasagna and some salad." She considered this a peace offering. She was convinced that Ted would take her adventure hard. All the more unexpected was his answer, "Thank you, I'm just hungry." His mood had clearly improved. Emma was suspicious and wondered if he had already moved on. He washed his face and they sat down to eat. Emma made up her mind. "Do you think, I'm going to his house tomorrow." He glanced at her. He decided to put some effort into it. Ted felt he had to do this for the sake of the children. "It's not too late to stop, Emma. I firmly believe that you will regret this in the end." She hesitated. It was a different Ted. He said this completely sincerely and confidently. For a moment she was overcome with love for him. She struggled with it. "I need this, Ted." He smiled at her. "I don't believe you and I understand the word need to mean the same thing, Emma." She stood up and cleared away the plates. I hope you see your path clearly and will go to bed with me tonight. No, I told you. You'll see me when you're done with your lover. It will be visible then. Emma was disappointed. She had visions of a pleasant night of lovemaking that would bring an amicable end to this phase of their marriage. But this was not destined to come true. She realized she was done with it when she talked to Ted the other day. She felt sad about this. Ted paused before heading to the guest house. Maybe something will come back then, Emma, but most likely not. He walked out the door. Emma sat down at the table and thought. At that moment, it became clear to her that she was risking her marriage. She used to entertain the idea that things might go back to normal when her affair ended. Now she knew it was naive. If she continued to date Marcus, it was likely that her life would subsequently change dramatically, and there was no real way to predict what form it would take. She had almost decided to give up on the affair when the thought struck her that even if she gave it up, Ted might never feel the same way about her. Yes, now he would never see her the same. She decided to go ahead. Friday evening, Emma was packing her bag when she left for work in the morning. She packed everything she needed, plus a new, tight-fitting nightgown. She became nervous when she saw Marcus at work, but he smiled broadly at her and kissed her in his office. No doubts or hesitations. Your husband doubts, she asked. I really had them, but I want you so much, he replied. She stuck out her tongue and licked her lips. Marcus was delighted. They left work in different cars. Employees at work were not supposed to know about the weekend plans. Emma arrived at the mansion at 6 o'clock in the evening. She parked, and Marcus opened the door and invited her into his luxurious home. When the door closed, he pulled her into his arms and kissed her. She melted into him. She was so excited. They headed toward the stairs. Marcus picked her up and tried to carry her up the stairs, but he had to lower her halfway. She realized that Marcus was not as strong as Ted. She hurried upstairs and headed to the master bedroom. The bed was made and everything was ready. Marcus pulled her into his arms again and they kissed. Emma quickly took off her dress. She wasn't wearing any stockings, so she was only wearing a bra and panties in front of Marcus. She took off her bra and then her panties. He was licking his lips literally. Here she was without anything, with a new man for the first time since she got married. It was so exciting. Marcus had no shirt or shoes. Emma knelt down in front of him and unbuttoned his trousers. She then pulled down his boxers and looked at her new prize. She thought it was beautiful. After they got busy like wild animals having sex, he rolled off her and they clung to each other. Emma was satisfied. Maybe everything happened quickly, but it was very intense. She caught herself thinking that the pleasure was just as intense as with Ted. Well, almost as intense. She was confident that they would reach new heights later. Marcus was delighted. He had conquered this married woman and tied her well to him. He knew he was a better lover than anyone she had ever experienced. He just knew it. He may have come quickly, but so did she, and much stronger than his own wife. Her pulsation was much more intense than Linda's. Emma decided to excite Marcus again. It took her a while to get Marcus turned on again. When she did, they had sex again. After that, he invited her to have dinner. He had robes for them. They went downstairs. A small feast was prepared, and Emma found herself starving. They ate and talked. Did you like it? Marcus was unoriginal. Emma nodded. Certainly. And you? The very best, Emma sang. Simply the best, better than everyone else. Marcus didn't know this song. He looked puzzled. Emma and Ted often sang it to each other. She felt a little ashamed that she had used it with Marcus. After dinner, they went back upstairs and watched a romantic movie in the bedroom. Marcus wanted more sex, but Emma wanted to watch the movie to the end. Then they did it again, missionary style. Emma was impressed that Marcus was able to do it 3 times like that. However, the 3rd time made a slightly less impression on her. Ted picked Nora up from her apartment, driving his classic Mustang convertible. This was his hobby, one of them. Nora was delighted with the trip and with Ted. He looked great in his blue suit, and Ted was delighted with her spectacular dark red dress with a plunging neckline. He took her to the Regent Hotel, where there was a good restaurant. They had a wonderful dinner and then went to the dance floor nearby. Ted was athletic and always a good dancer. One of the reasons he liked Emma was that she was also gifted in that sense. So was Nora. Nora was light on her feet and so sensual when she moved. Ted was completely fascinated by her. More and more, she reminded him of Lisa, only younger and a better dancer. They danced until, at some point, they both suddenly wanted to find another place. Nora got into the car and looked at him. "Take me to your home. Yes, take me to your place." Ted controlled himself during the trip and drove very carefully. 15 minutes later, he opened the front door and let Nora in. They were unable to get out of the living room. Nora quickly undressed, and Ted returned the favor. Then they stood up staring at each other. Nora was the first to attack Ted and throw him onto the sofa. There, she went to her affairs, and they started with such intensity and zeal as never before. In the morning, they woke up to sunlight. They took a shower together. Ted prepared breakfast. Nora just looked at him as he did it. She was in love and knew it. She didn't trust it, but she felt it. Then she said it to him as he served eggs and toast. "I'm in love with you, Ted. I just have to say it." Ted was surprised. He thought about it and said, "I believe the feeling is mutual. Let it be hard to believe so fast." They finished their eggs. "Now what?" asked Nora. Ted smiled. "Guess," he said, picking her up again. Emma's weekend continued as it had begun. Emma was pleased with Marcus, who gave her a lot of pleasure. Ted thought he was head over heels and in love with Nora. On Sunday afternoon, Emma and Marcus sealed their agreement to see each other next weekend. Ted and Nora began to think about what to do. They set a date for next Friday, depending on what Emma had planned, and they agreed to meet for lunch every day. Ted dropped Nora off at her apartment. She was a lawyer, and despite her youth, could afford good housing. Meanwhile, Emma drove home from Marcus. Ted had just returned when she walked through the door. They stared at each other. Ted had this smile. There was nothing he could do about it, and Emma saw it. She asked, "How was your weekend alone? How is Richie Rich?" Ted grinned. If Emma had been honest, she would have said, "He was exciting, but you're better." Instead, she said, "He was great. He'll be leaving again next week. The girls won't be back until next Sunday evening." She knew something had gone wrong with her plan. Ted was too happy. She was also nervous about how to tell the girls what was going on. For dinner, they ordered Chinese food. Ted met Nora for lunch every day during the week. They had plans to go to a concert on Friday and spend the weekend at her house. Ted and Emma communicated mechanically throughout the week. At work, Emma and Marcus were careful. At home, she hoped that Ted would soften and take her back. No chance. Every night he slept in the guest house. In the evenings, he watched baseball or read, not communicating with Emma. Basically, he ignored her. Their marriage was frozen. While in the guest house, he walked out through the backyard and looked around the Reynolds mansion. He used Google Maps and night vision goggles to build a mental diagram of the place. He also used cash to buy a device that directionally amplified sound. The following weekend, he and Nora had a great time, but then she had to leave for some Sunday lunch with her parents. So in the morning, they had their last meeting, and she left. Ted went to the Reynolds mansion and found out some more. He had seen Marcus and Emma at the pool many times. It seemed like that was where they spent a lot of time. He also found that the directional device was working fine. He managed to overhear some of what they said to each other. He found it boring. By the third week, the twins were home. Of course, they noticed that their parents had actually separated. At dinner that Tuesday, Claire asked, "Mom, Dad, what's going on?" Emma said, "We have some problems. We'll deal with that. Don't worry." The girls then looked at Ted. He shook his head. "The truth is that your mother decided to have intimate relations with her boss, so I moved into the guest house. What will happen in the long term has not yet been decided." Emma was angry at Ted for putting it that way. However, there was nothing to object to. She said, "I felt that I needed—" Beth interrupted, "New man, it looks like it." "How could you, Mom?" Emma stood up and ran up the stairs. "Are you getting divorced, Dad?" I don't know. Not everything has been decided yet, but can you keep your mouth shut? The girls answered in unison. Yes. Do you promise? Yes. I have a new friend. I'll introduce you to this weekend when Mom goes to her new boyfriend. The twins were smart. Claire said, You mean you have someone you want us to meet, so this must be very serious, right? Maybe. Until Mom left, I never would have met Nora. But Mom went, then I did it too. And who knows who will end up with whom in the end? Beth grinned. Claire asked, How did you manage to work so quickly, Dad? This doesn't sound like you. I kind of knew Nora from lunches. Maybe, I felt insecure or like I didn't measure up. And it seemed to me that Nora would like to go on a date with me. She really wanted this. The girls fell into a thoughtful and uncomfortable silence. Ted let them think. Finally, he asked, Anything else at the moment? Claire asked, When will we meet her? I'll organize something for this weekend. You have a game on Saturday afternoon, right? Yes. Maybe Nora and I will come. This is a serious story, Dad. You were not ashamed to appear with her even to the parents of our friends? Ted was not surprised that the girls turned out to be so neat and smart. He really believed that they could figure this out. Nothing is set in stone now. I like this woman and your mother ruined our marriage, but the situation is unpredictable. They left everything as it was. Emma never came downstairs. On Friday, Emma returned to Marcus' mansion. She had a pleasant weekend, but sometimes she got bored. Marcus' intimate repertoire was more limited than Ted's. Emma tried to introduce him to something new, but he was not so receptive. Marcus could manage this at best 3 times a day, and he was quick and didn't like hugs. This left a lot of time when they weren't having sex. Since their affair was supposed to be a secret, they could not go out, so they stayed at the mansion. It was big enough for hiking, and they had a pool where they spent a lot of time. That same weekend, Ted took Nora dancing again. This time they went to a local club. One of her friends, Laura Blake, was there. Laura and Ted were introduced to each other. In reality, Ted had no intention of keeping his relationship with Nora a secret. They danced amazingly again and then went home to Nora's place. Ted left at 1 o'clock in the morning. The twins were already waiting for him. A wide smile appeared on Ted's face when he saw them in the living room. You girls have a game tomorrow. You should get some sleep. Beth said, We were waiting for you. Claire added, I see you have a big smile. I bet you... Ted interrupted, Never mind. Go to sleep. Game at 10. Nora will come with us. Nora arrived at 8:30. She was nervous. Ted was nervous. And the twins were nervous and insecure. When Ted opened the door and let Nora in, there was a long pause where no one said a word. Nora looked great. Finally, Ted said, Nora, this is Claire and this is Beth. Nora smiled. Hello, I think it's a little awkward, but maybe we have something in common. I played soccer in college on the attack. Where? Asked Beth. Notre Dame, Nora replied. Ted was stunned and the girls were impressed. Beth, always the troublemaker, had a soccer ball in her hands. She tossed it to Nora. Nora somehow picked it up with her right foot and threw it back to Beth with her knee, who caught the ball. Nora smiled. Beth and Claire smiled too. Ted said, Then let's go. The girls were good at soccer. Usually they united in the center of the field and tried to control the course of the game. Ted and Nora watched. Well, Ted watched. Nora could hardly restrain herself and jumped up and down on the seat. If the other parents didn't see her before the game, they saw her when the game started. It was a tense and exciting match. The other team showed its best side and took a 2-goal lead. But the home team fought back and equalized just 2 minutes before the end. The opposing coach made a substitution. Beth stood next to Nora. Nora called her and said, They will try to pass by your side, cut through and leave. Beth looked at Nora and nodded. Nora's analysis was accurate. Beth intercepted the pass and headed toward the goal at speed. Ted jumped, but Nora didn't. Nora just watched. Role reversal. Beth approached the box and saw that the other striker on the right was offside by a yard. She feinted left, lured the goalie out, and then kicked the ball into the net. The game ended immediately after this score. Ted and the girls celebrated with other parents. Nora took a step back. When the jumping died down, Beth approached Nora and asked, "How did you know?" Nora laughed. "I watch the game. I see the game when I watch." She patted Beth's hand. 3 or 4 other parents noticed the whole interaction. Joan Drake asked Ted, "Is she the Twins' coach?" Ted said, "No, she's my friend, but she played this game." The girls' coach, Lena Holmes, said, "Well, of course I remember her. She played for Notre Dame on the attack." Ted called Nora over and introduced her to everyone present. Nobody asked any awkward questions. In the car on the way home, Claire said, "Dad, you can guess what they're all wondering." Ted laughed. "Let them." The 4 of them stopped for pizza. Then Ted and Nora went to her house for about 3 hours. They returned with Chinese dinner. Ted was a little worried about the food selection. After dinner, there was another long conversation about soccer. Beth Googled Nora and learned about her college career. Nora studied there for 3 years. Around 9 o'clock in the evening, there was an awkward silence. Then Ted said, "Girls, Nora and I are heading to the guest house." Beth said, "Be quiet, please." Nora laughed. "I promise to do my best." After Nora and Ted left, the girls discussed it all. They really liked Nora, and they could see how much their father liked her. They felt like the family life they knew was over. It was an abrupt transition. Claire said, "It's not Daddy's fault, is it? Mom left us studying him with this idiot. I really hate her for this." "Me too. I can only guess that how could she just do that? Selfishness, that's all. We have to accept change, Claire. Maybe things won't be so bad. I like Nora. Dad likes her too, but they haven't known each other for long, right? So we don't know. Maybe Mom and Dad will make peace. Maybe," Beth said, "try." They went upstairs and watched a video. Then they fell asleep. Ted and Nora had a wonderful time again. In the morning, they prepared breakfast for 4. Nora set up an impromptu soccer lesson for the twins in the backyard. Then she had to visit her mom and dad. Ted and the twins had a long discussion about how to proceed. Ted tried to reassure them about their mother. He also assured them that even if there was a divorce, they would remain here in the house. He also told them that they would still have a lot of contact with both parents if they separated. They actually discussed how the girls should react to Emma. Ted tried to get them to at least be polite. Then Emma appeared at the door, creating another awkward moment with everyone staring at her. Emma said, "I want you girls to know that I love you and I love Dad too. This is true." Beth calmly replied, "Mom, that's what you say, but what you're doing says otherwise." "I can't explain all this to you. I just needed it. This won't last forever." Claire said, "Oh, I'm not so sure about that." Emma walked into the kitchen saying she was going to make dinner. The other 3 looked at each other. Nobody said almost anything. Dinner was delicious but stressful. Emma asked about the soccer game. Claire said Beth scored the winning goal. "Congratulations, tell me." An awkward silence followed. Then Ted said, "Beth anticipated the pass, intercepted it, and went all the way to score past the goalkeeper." Emma praised the girls. Ted cleared the table and the girls went to their rooms. Ted went to the guest house. Emma said, "Ted, understand, you could spend a night here." "Never. Are you done with this idiot?" "Don't know. Maybe it wasn't quite what I had hoped. We stayed home all weekend, you know." "Emma, people will find out. They already know something is wrong. I don't want to embarrass you. And he doesn't want his wife to know. It's a pity. Ted, a bit more, and it will end. Emma, please understand that you ruined our marriage. It's over between us. So stay as long as you want. Just remember he is all you have now." Emma was shocked by this frank statement. She sobbed just once and ran upstairs. By morning, she had decided to take things as normally as possible. She had to go to work. And Ted, too. The girls were preparing for a trip to their grandparents' house and then to an outdoor camp. Ted had lunch with Nora and explained what happened after she left. He then went home to help the twins pack their things. Emma's plans for the day were disrupted when her friend Joan called. "Emma, who was that nice young woman who came to the soccer game with Ted?" Emma paused. "Which young woman?" "Oh, understand. She is a former soccer player, very pretty. We were all wondering where you were. Damn it. Calm down, Emma. She and Ted didn't... There weren't any obvious signs, you know? Oh, no? Well, they didn't tell me anything about her. What is her name? Nora. Emma, where have you been? I heard something I can't believe. Like what? Joan. Like the fact that you left Ted for your boss. Not true. I didn't leave him. Well, Jane Bright has a cousin at the club who works for Mr. Reynolds in his house. The cousin said that on weekends when his wife is away, he has a woman there. Crap, so it's you. God, Emma, God, this shouldn't last too long. Joan, only at weekends, you're stupid. Ted already has another woman, and guess what? I don't blame him. She's younger and better. Your daughters seem to be already familiar with her. You screwed up royally. Emma was truly shocked. That evening, she and Ted dropped the girls off at his parents' house. The ride home was silent, but when they entered the house, Emma attacked Ted and slapped him. He stepped back. What the hell? You replaced me, you idiot. You're complaining? What did you expect? You must have made preparations for my departure. How long have you been making fun of me? I only knew her from the CAF GC. We didn't even kiss until you went crazy with your boss. So you... Emma rushed away. Ted went to the guest house. He then walked out the back door wearing dark clothes. He found a good place to observe Reynolds from a tree. That night, he intended to test a sound amplification device. He set it up and waited until he saw Marcus and his wife on the deck overlooking the pool. They sat and drank wine. As he joined their discussion, he heard Marcus say, "It won't last long, you have your boy toy." Linda replied, "Only because you started it. This is like the fourth or fifth available girl." Marcus said, "I support your style, Linda. Don't ruin it." Why are they always married? Do their husbands know? Yes, I force them to tell their husbands about it. I like it better this way. When we have social events at our company, I smile at all the idiots. Someday, boy, you will cross the road with the wrong person. Nope. What will they do? They may divorce their wives, but they all have children, so they don't do it. They just accept it. So what if they end up getting divorced? It's a pity. You're one of the biggest in the world. Yeah, a real jerk, but I'm good in bed, right? Linda laughed. What do you think? Mason is better. Ha! Marcus laughed. From that moment on, the conversation reached a dead end. Ted got down and walked away. Until this moment, Ted had thought that dealing with Marcus was not only unnecessary, but also risky. It seemed to him that there was no need after all. Now he had Nora. Emma and her stupid antics made it possible. Maybe he thought he should thank Marcus. But the conversation he had just overheard again aroused his burning anger. The next day he walked into Mike's office and they talked. Nora spent the weekend with Ted and the girls. The couple slept in the guest house, but otherwise interacted with the twins almost like a family. After Saturday's game, there were more soccer lessons. Saturday night, Ted and Nora had a fantastic time as usual. As they lay in bed, Nora asked, "What happens next, Ted? I mean, maybe it's weird to ask this, but are we exclusive?" Ted laughed. "You mean, do I sleep with my wife on the side?" Nora giggled. "Yes." "I am absolutely not going to do that. I'm a one-woman man. You can be that woman if you want." "I feel like I'm ruining your marriage. You two have been together for so long." "Not anymore. Once Emma went to her boss, I was done with her. After a few hours, I felt free and benefited from it. I'm happy with my decision." The next morning, they participated in another fun run and then prepared breakfast. Nora went to her parents' house a little early to help her mother with an unusual cake. Ted told the girls he was going for a bike ride with Mike and would see them later. He hugged each one tightly and left. Earlier that week, Ted had prepared the rifle and left it by the tree, loaded and wrapped. As he hit his bike and headed there, he half hoped someone would take it, but everything was in place. He had serious doubts even when backed into a corner. But he kept remembering the conversation that Marcus had with his wife, Linda. Then he saw his almost naked wife kissing the guy. He thought, screw this, it's time to end this crap. As Ted and Mike sat drinking beer after the bike ride, Lisa ran out of the house. "I saw it on TV. Marcus was shot. He is dead. Marcus is dead." Ted quickly stood up. "What about Emma?" They said a woman was present, but she was not injured. Mike exclaimed, "Oh my God!" Ted said Mike took out his phone and turned on the news feed. Mike had kept Ted's cell phone with him the entire trip in his belt bag. He waited until Lisa looked at his phone before handing it to Ted. Lisa saw it but didn't think much of it at the time. Ted tried to call Emma. No answer. "I better go home. Maybe someone called." He left on his bicycle. When he returned home, the landline phone was ringing. "Hello? Is this Ted Johnson?" "Yes. This is Detective Harris from APD. There was a shooting, but your wife was not injured." "You're talking about Marcus? My friend told me what happened." "I can comment on this. Mr. Reynolds is dead. Your wife is here at the station. She is completely shocked. Can you come get her?" "Certainly." "Where?" "Main office, 3rd floor. Please contact the front desk." Ted put on shorts and a t-shirt over his cycling gear. He had his wallet and phone in his fanny pack. He took the car keys and drove off. He had no idea what to expect. He was invited to a conversation and was told that he could see Emma after everything was completed. Detective Harris was an older white guy who looked fit, although he had gray hair. He had a partner, Stella Blake, an attractive brunette, large and tall. Ted sat with them in a small room and answered all their questions. They asked how his day was, and he told them about the bike ride and all. Then they asked if he knew Emma was involved with Marcus. "Yes." How did you feel about this?" It was Harris. "I did not like it, but I moved on." "What does that mean?" "I have another interest. Another woman." "Oh, so you have an open marriage?" "No. As she announced that she was doing it, that's how I reacted." "Do you have a weapon?" "Yes, I have a gun safe." "We'll have to look into it." "Fine. Well, let's go home together." The police found out many details about the bike ride, addresses, and who else Ted was meeting with. Then they left him in a small room for a while. The door was locked. Ted just sat there looking at his phone. About 15 minutes later, Harris returned and asked if they could look at the phone. Ted said, "I have something on my phone about work that I don't want to make public. Nothing illegal. We could get a warrant." He decided to just let them take the phone. He was told it would take 30 minutes. Then they took him to Emma. She was wearing a t-shirt and jeans, not hers. She looked scared. Ted said, "Emma, are you okay?" "No, God, he got shot. I was right there. There was blood everywhere." "I'm sorry, Emma. Once they're done with my phone, I can take you home, okay?" Ted paused. "I regret all of this, but we can talk on the way home." He hugged her. Soon the detective brought the phone and the couple left the station. When they were in the car, Emma asked, "Ted, did you shoot him?" "No, maybe I don't regret that he was killed, but I didn't do that." Emma stared at him. "I know you could, but you found the right girl. So I just didn't do it." "Did you see him get shot?" "No, I heard a shot and it all exploded." Now she was crying, sobbing. Ted pulled the SUV into the driveway. He escorted Emma inside and led the arriving police officers to the gun safe. They examined the weapon and asked about the ammunition. There was an unopened box of .30 caliber ammunition. They were not interested in other ammunition. When they got back outside, Harris turned to Ted and said, "We'll take DNA and fingerprints from the rifle we have. I would advise you not to interfere with this, Mr. Johnson." "Well, I don't know about any weapon, and I didn't shoot anyone." "Fine, see you." Ted went inside to deal with his wife. However, before doing this, he called Nora and told her what had happened. She knew some details. He asked if she would come over later once Emma had calmed down. Then he called his parents and daughters. They discussed the events of the past day for a long time. One of the questions was whether the twins would go to outdoor camp next week. It was decided that they should leave to avoid any confusion that might be expected. Emma took a long shower. Ted inquired about her mental state. Not surprisingly, he was waiting for her when she came out in a robe. "It must be difficult. Have you cleaned up enough?" he asked. She smiled. "No, but the water ran out." "Yes, I guessed. What can I do for you?" "Well, maybe we can order pizza. I'm starving." Ted did it. Emma looked at Ted over her pizza. "I was thinking about you. I'm not so sure you're innocent. Where have you been today?" On a bike ride with Mike. I told the cops. He might lie for you. Yeah, but he doesn't have to lie. I admit that I have some anger issues at times, but I didn't shoot that idiot. He was a jerk. You were right about that. Are you going to divorce me? Maybe, I mean, you threw it in my face, Emma. After so many years you needed some rich boy. I agree that he was good looking. He was good, honestly, Ted. He wasn't. He didn't really live up to his looks. Yeah, it's true. You have some kind of woman, Nora. I was told that she is younger and more attractive. Yes, she is quite attractive and athletic. She played soccer in college. And she just picked you up right away. I bet you mastered it before I had Marcus. No, maybe around the same time. First we went dancing. Why are you interested? I probably won't have a job. You will leave me, I know. I have to live and we have a marriage contract. I won't let you starve and maybe you'll have a job. Linda probably isn't too happy with me. Ted's phone rang. It was Nora. He walked into the living room. Emma followed him at some distance. She heard their declarations of love. If she had been wearing shoes, she would have kicked herself. As Ted tried to persuade Nora not to come, Emma entered the room. Let her come, Ted. I think it's time for us to meet. 30 minutes later, the doorbell rang and Ted let Nora in. Emma was already dressed. She looked tired but still attractive. The two women looked at each other for what must have been a full minute. Then Nora said, I regret this. You must be very shocked. Thank you, this is true. It's also confusing. You took my husband. You left him. It is not my fault. They were separated by about 10 feet. Ted positioned himself to intervene if necessary. Emma was shaking. She started sobbing again. Nora stepped towards her and hugged her. Emma cried on Nora's shoulder. Ted was amazed. Nora sat Emma down on the couch, maintaining contact. There was room for Ted, too, and he sat down next to Emma and hugged her, too. Emma sobbed, gasping for air. She sobbed, such a fool, sorry, such a fool. Emma's crying subsided. She stood up a little and asked Ted, Do you think the hot water is ready? Maybe, he replied. She got up to take another shower. After she emptied the tank again, Ted gave her a pill and she fell asleep on their bed. Ted and Nora went to the guest bedroom. They didn't want to leave Emma alone in the house. They watched the news at 10. Marcus' murder was widely reported. As it turned out, Marcus had many affairs with married women who mostly worked for him in one way or another. So Ted was far from the only suspect. Later on CNN, it turned out that some people also had business reasons for eliminating Marcus. Finally, there were suggestions on the internet that Marcus' wife could be involved in this. Ted turned off all media after 11. He and Nora went to bed. Neither of them really wanted to have sex at first, but Nora was silent. Ted woke up early and checked on Emma. She slept until 9, then took a shower. At 10, all three were sitting at breakfast, eating pancakes that Nora had whipped up. Mozart started playing on Nora's phone. She answered, and it was the police to arrange an interview. Nora asked Emma and Ted, Should I ask them to come here? Emma nodded. We can get the latest news at 11. Detectives Harris and Blake came and took Nora to a private room to take a statement. This took about 25 minutes. Then they all met in the living room. Emma asked, Any news about who did this? Blake said, Not yet. Many people had a motive, including you, Mr. Johnson. We've already discussed this. Ted frowned. Yes, well, thank you all for your cooperation. They left. Lisa called and said the police were coming to take a statement. They were polite but persistent and scrupulous. Ted told her he would see Mike at work. All three were somewhat confused, not knowing what to do. Should I leave? Asked Nora. Emma said, No, I understand Ted might want you to stay. Ted nodded. They were all sitting on the back patio, drinking coffee. Emma seemed sad. Ted and Nora seemed to be expecting more problems. Emma held her temples. I keep seeing him dead. He still didn't move. I wonder if I'll always see this. Nora seemed to want to console her. In my course on the psychology of grief, it was said that images are the most persistent thing, but over time they fade and are erased. I really hope so, Emma's voice broke. Do you have news from work? Ted asked. No, I mean I work directly for Marcus. I actually acted as a sort of dealer for the goods sent to him. I let him see some things but took care of other things myself. Whoever takes his place will need someone like me." "Who will it be?" asked Nora. "My only guess is Linda. I know it was in his will because I signed it as a witness. She gets everything except some things for his mom." "Okay, do you want to work there?" "Yes. Like I said, I need to support myself." "Huh?" Ted looked at Nora. "Well, until you get back on your feet. Did you two sleep in the house last night?" It's clear that this bothered Emma. Nora nodded. "In the guest room. I hope this continues for some time until I get back on my feet." There was a double meaning in Emma's words, and neither Ted nor Nora missed it. Ted didn't mind. "Everything will work out on its own, and the girls will be back briefly next week." "Nora, they told me that you went to their game." "Yes, it was exciting. I missed it." Emma sobbed again. "I feel like such a fool. He had a whole string of women. He manipulated us all." "Well, he was handsome. You made a big mistake." Nora tried to calm her down a little. Ted said, "I think you've been unhappy for a while." Here at home, not at work." Emma thought and said, "This is true. I don't know what causes this. Maybe something like the grass is greener." She paused, then added, "Then a big hole opened up and swallowed up my life." She stood up and ran inside. After a while, the clink of pots and pans was heard. Emma baked a chocolate cake that was ready by noon. Eventually, Nora and Ted came into the kitchen and began to talk incoherently about something. They ate sandwiches while the cake cooled enough to frost it. So the day continued. Nora made burgers for dinner, and Emma made a salad. The three of them did something but hardly talked about the future. Emma went to bed at 9. Twice she woke up from nightmares, once screaming. Ted came in and calmed her down. The next morning, Tuesday, Nora had to go to work. Ted also wanted to go to the office, but he was worried about Emma. While he was thinking, Emma's phone rang. It was Linda. Emma put her phone on speaker. "Will you come to work today? I have a job." "Yes, I understand that the situation is not easy, but something has to be done, and you can't be replaced right away. So despite your stupidity about Marcus, I need your job," Linda said. Emma looked at Ted. He nodded. "I can be there in an hour." "Fine. Come to the house. Walk behind so you don't get caught," Linda instructed. Emma met Linda in the office on the second floor. Linda extended her hand for a handshake, and Emma accepted it. Linda began, "I'm curious. Before we get down to business, why Marcus was able to get his hands on you? I saw your husband. Did he disappoint you?" "Oh no, but Marcus looks so good." "Yes, but that was not the case, not that good actually. I have already begun to understand this. Not bad, but no more. Best case scenario, he had a tendency to fade. Perhaps you and he have not reached the stage yet." "Maybe." "Well, let's get started." The two of them worked all day, bringing Linda up to date. They also considered how to get rid of Marcus' body. The body had not yet been returned. At 6 o'clock in the evening, Linda looked up from her work and asked, "Can you stay for dinner? We still have a lot to do." "Certainly. I have Ted and his girlfriend at home," Emma said. "That's what I heard. She's pretty," Linda commented. "Yes, and young. Here, the first night I left, so they really connected," Emma replied. "Looks like it. My girls like it too," Linda said. "Well, if you need some relief, I can lend you one of my boy toys. They know how to satisfy a woman." Emma blushed. "Linda, thank you, but I'm not ready yet. Just let me know. Now that we women are running the company, maybe the guys will have to make room. Is there anything you need?" Well, if it comes to that, a boy toy will do. I don't want to destroy any family," Emma said. "You're too cute, Emma," Linda said. They ate and Emma went home. At 9:30, Linda gave her a significant raise. Ted and Nora were interested to see how Emma was doing at work, given the complexity of the situation. Emma described her day and the work she had to do, and she told them about her promotion. "So I won't be a burden. Looks like I can support myself," Emma said. "If it sounded pretty bleak," Ted said. Emma interrupted. Linda offered me a boy toy to use if I needed it. I refused for now." Nora gasped. "Really? How do they look?" Ted was a little annoyed by this but said nothing. "I don't know. I didn't even know Linda had them." For the next 6 weeks, Emma worked for Linda 6 days a week, either in the office or at her home. The work was moving forward. Ted started getting divorced about 2 weeks later. This came as no surprise to Emma or the twins. Linda hired Emma a lawyer, but the details were easy to work out. The parties agreed and signed a few weeks later. The twins stayed in the house with Ted and Nora. Emma didn't mind that much. She gradually moved towards peaceful coexistence with her daughters. They often spent their days off with her. Ted and Nora returned to the main house. Nora gave up her apartment. Essentially, she took on the role of mother to the girls. The situation became more and more comfortable. One night, Nora and Ted, having completed another pleasant session of intimacy, snuggled up to each other. "Nora, do you want to get married?" Nora tensed. She looked at him. "Yes." They kissed. Nora said, "I want children too." She looked at Ted with some trepidation. He hugged Nora. "Huh? Ready for diaper changing again?" "Okay." They kissed again. They got married 6 months later. 2 months later, Nora became pregnant. Meanwhile, the police investigation into the sensational murder of a millionaire reached a dead end. Gradually, the crime disappeared from public view. From time to time, some journalists raised this topic, and it faded again. Authorities spent a lot of time checking the alibis of everyone they thought had a motive, including the 6 husbands. They got nowhere. Some had no alibis or weak ones, but the police did not have the results of an examination of the prints on the rifle, and indeed no concrete evidence, and there were no witnesses despite numerous public appeals to people who may have been on a side trail near the shooting site. The police checked Linda. She was with 2 young men several miles from the shooting scene. They checked to see if she had ordered the hit, even though the shooting did not appear to be professionally executed. Nothing was found, perhaps because there was nothing to look for. Their attention to Ted quickly faded. Mike had a very convincing alibi, traveling as a salesman. In the end, the matter went into dormant mode, slightly reminding itself from time to time. Soon, Emma became absolutely indispensable to Linda and the company. She was smart, passionate, and knew more about operations than anyone else, with the possible exception of the late Marcus. One Saturday afternoon, Linda and Emma were getting ready to go out. Emma had a room in this house. She went upstairs to take a shower. Until now, she had never gone to the pool. Linda had no problems with the pool. It bothered her that Emma had a problem with it. So that Saturday, Linda found Emma drying herself with a towel after her shower. She tossed Emma a robe. "Come with me." Emma was confused, but Linda was the boss. She followed her. Linda walked to the door that led outside to the pool. Emma stopped. Linda said harshly, "I have a treat for you, but you have to go outside to get it." Emma hesitated, but then she thought, maybe it's time. She stepped inside. There were 2 sun loungers by the pool. Linda walked past them. Emma followed her. There were 2 young men there. Both were naked. Both were beautiful and hung. One was black, the other was white, but well-tanned. Emma was stunned. Linda said, "You haven't slept since the shooting happened. This is Damon and this is Chad. You have a choice, but you must choose one." Emma stood there, looking at the men. She got excited, opened her robe, and threw it on the floor. Slowly she walked towards Damon, staring at him. "Hello, Damon. My name is Emma." Damon smiled. "Nice to meet you, Emma." Emma and Damon put on quite a show for Linda and Chad, who were just watching. Linda and Chad gave them a round of applause. And that's how Emma's fear of the pool was overcome. Emma's life has changed dramatically, but not in a bad way. She had her choice of boy toys, and she had a job that she loved. She spent Sundays with her daughters and sometimes with Ted and Nora. When Nora gave birth to little Brian, Emma was thrilled but a little jealous. Ted and Nora were very happy too. One day, when the women were alone, Nora asked Emma about her sex life, and Emma told her clearly. Nora's intimacy with Ted was exciting that night. This had subsided a bit since the baby was born. Now Nora was back into the rhythm. From time to time, Nora and Emma would start another conversation. This was always enough. Emma thought of it as a family ministry that she was happy to do, some compensation to Ted for her blunder. Soon baby Nikki appeared. As they say, all's well that ends well. One evening, after all the children had gone to bed, Lisa found herself walking around the backyard with Ted. She stopped at the guest house and turned to him. "Nora and I like each other. I'm pleased." Ted smiled. "You know, in your time, you could have had me, but I chose Mike. Do you know why?" Lisa replied, "I could never understand you. You have inner anger, maybe from your parents. You're hiding it, but it's always been there, and I still love you." "Maybe so, maybe. I rarely think about it," Ted admitted. "I think sometimes, and yet you have created a good life for yourself and your loved ones, and for Mike and me too. But Ted, I saw Mike handing you your phone after your bike ride. I saw it. I didn't immediately realize what this meant. You took a hell of a risk, and so did Mike." "One damn chance," Lisa pointed out. Ted was silent for a moment, looking at Lisa. "Do you think I should get some counseling?" Lisa smiled. "Do not do that. It's you. So it was and will be. And remember, Mike and I still love you." Thanks for watching. What did you think of Emma's dramatic turn of events? Do you believe Ted made the right choices, or do you think things could have ended differently? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more gripping stories. See you in the next video.